Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Embracing Power and Potential. I hope you have all had a fabulous week. This episode, we're going to just jump straight into it today. I'm not going to give any life updates because this episode will tie it all in. It's actually my birthday today, moving into chapter 23. So instead of sharing my goals and things that I want for the next chapter, I actually wanted to reflect on the lessons that have shaped me during chapter 22. Some were beautiful, some were painful, but all of them changed me. Welcome, listeners, to Embracing Power and Potential, your go-to podcast where we travel through the realms of personal growth, mindset mastery, and fear-conquering strategies to help achieve your greatest desires. I'm your host, Portia, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this transformative experience. If you're ready to unleash your authentic power and elevate your life, you're in the right place. Join me and our special guests as we embark on conversations that will broaden your horizons and enrich your journey. So, sit back and immerse yourself in these unmatched discussions. It's time to expand your mind and your life. So I did some brainstorming. I've been doing some journaling, and I come up with 7 lessons that I wanted to share here today that I guess have shaped me into the person I am today. And the lesson of number 1 is let them. Discovering the Let Them Theory and Mindset by Mel Robbins. It's actually a book. If you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend that you go and buy it. I'll actually link it in the show notes as well, so you can order it off Amazon. But genuinely, the best $18 I've ever spent from Kmart. So what the Let Them Theory has taught me is I realized not everyone will understand me, not everyone will choose me, not everyone will support me, and not everyone will stay in my life. And you have to let them. You have to let people be on their own journey. And what it comes back to is learning that trying to control people only creates suffering for yourself. And I used to be very, controlling, around the expectations that I had of the people in my life, whether it was my best friend or my mum, my cousin. And we would be fighting more because I would be trying to tell them how to live their lives instead of just letting them be on their own journey, letting them make their own choices and letting them fuck up, without me stressing myself out and actually ruining my relationships with my mum, with whoever it was in my life, because the freedom that comes from letting people think what they want, do what they want, and be who they are is unmatched. I have a genuinely really healthy relationship with my mum now because I'm not micromanaging everything around me at the moment. I'm just focused on me. And that's where the second part of the Let Them Theory is. It's let me. Let me choose myself. Let me focus on myself. Let me move forward. So let them and let me. That is lesson number 1. Now, lesson number 2 is growth requires risk. So a few examples in my life. Firstly, switching jobs, taking the leap to quit my job that I'd been at for 7 years, besides when I moved to Melbourne, leaving that for something scary as hell. Sales and marketing. Very confronting job, but also, one of the best decisions I've ever made this year. But it was a risk. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and I trusted myself. Also being willing to leave certainty behind at that time, knowing that my job, it was stable. I was never going to lose my position where I was. Even though the hours were shitty, I knew how valuable I was there. So I knew my position was always stable. And even just the pay coming in, I knew my shifts every single week. So I knew exactly how much money that I could budget with every week. And it was comfortable. Then moving into something where maybe, had to get paid a little bit less at the start until I picked up the skill set, and it was a risk, and I had to leave behind what I knew was comfortable and what I knew was certain to moving into the unknown. And I had to understand that having confidence isn't knowing that it will work. It's just trusting yourself and taking action anyway. Walking into the job interview, feeling confident, believing that I was excited instead of nervous. But basically, confidence is just backing yourself, even when you don't know how it's even going to play out. Trusting yourself anyway. Lesson number 3, responding instead of reacting. This one is a big one for me, and I definitely have learned how to handle challenges with grace this year, especially with the let them theory, as I talked about, not controlling things anymore and people in my life. Learning to pause instead of jumping straight to the gun or reacting, or just learning to breathe in those moments, I think has been really powerful for me. And realizing that my power lives in my response. No matter how frustrating the situation is or how frustrating the person is that you're dealing with, realizing how you respond changes the situation, and it actually gives you your power. When you respond with grace and don't actually match the other person's energy, and you show up as your higher self, the person who you want to show up as in those sort of situations, that's when you keep control of your power and you don't leak your energy. You stay true to who you are. You don't fall to anyone else's standards. You stay to your own standards, and that's something that I have really practiced this year. And people have actually noticed, I will say, I used to be quite reactive, and it's something that I've journaled a lot about and made peace with. But I was on the phone the other day and something had happened, and I was really calm about the situation. And the person on the other end, they were like, wow, like after obviously they were talking to me about it, they're like, I couldn't believe how well you handled that. And I'm just like, I don't react anymore. It's not I really do have been working on regulating my nervous system, and that is a big part of being able to handle challenges in situations a lot better. And that doesn't mean that it's you never get triggered. That's not emotional maturity. It's meaning that you're always composed, you're always cool, you never get triggered, because that's not the case. I just know now how to regulate my emotions a lot better, and not to say I don't have my moments, because we're all human, and I'm still learning every single day about myself and learning how I can be a better person every single day. So trust me, doesn't mean that I don't get triggered, because I just know how to pull myself together a lot faster and how to control myself in the moment so that I can be proud of myself. Because as much as it's for the other people around me in my life, it comes down to my self-love and how I want to be as a person and as a human being. So if I can walk away from each challenge and go, I handled that well, and I'm proud of myself, that's really all I'm aiming for. And as a byproduct, that means I have better relationships with my friends and with my family. And deciding what deserves your energy. So this is a big one when it comes to reacting and responding. actually deciding what even is worth your energy, what is worth arguing about or having a conversation about, or when it's just time to just walk away and be like, I'm just not dealing with this right now because I just don't have to. And of course, there's times where you need to sit down and you need to be able to be mature and talk it through. But there's other times where you can be mature and walk away, cool down, reset, and then come back. And that's something that I've really struggled with in the past, is not letting arguments go. I like to win and I like to be right, but I've learned that it's a lot more powerful to just take back your energy and to deal with it in the right timing. So that was responding instead of reacting. And now, lesson 4, not everyone is meant to stay. So this past year, I have lost friendships that I genuinely believed would last forever. Like the best friends that you think, would be in your wedding. But that's okay. I've made peace with it. It feels weird sometimes to think about because grief comes with that. And I dealt with a lot of grief. It was really worse than a breakup. That's just what happens. You have to let things go in life to make space for new things, new chapters, new people, new friendships, and understanding that some people are just chapters in your life and not there for the whole story. And I've had to learn to be excited about that. And of course, you have to feel through your feelings. You have to feel the sadness and the grief, the loss, the anger, but then making peace with it and getting excited about what's actually to come in your life. Because something I've read in the Let Them Theory book is you don't even know what friendships are on their way to you yet, and the best friendships you haven't even met. How exciting is that? So I've had to let relationships end without, having closure, making my own closure without making the other person wrong. Just letting go and sort of moving on with life, I guess, and being grateful of the memories, of the love that it gave me at a point in my life, how it served me while letting go. So not everyone is meant to stay, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but when you can accept that, that's when you be able to take your power back and you can focus your energy on what's to come in your life and making space for the right people. And sometimes choosing yourself hurts other people. This is lesson 5. And something that I've learned this last chapter, is setting standards in relationships and how important that is, and how much it can impact your life when you don't. And that means having difficult conversations, which that is something that I have really been working on this year, because I can be a bit of a people pleaser. And I find it hard to say no sometimes because I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. So used to rather put myself in an uncomfortable space, or when I didn't want to do something, just so I didn't have to say no to someone else and hurt their feelings. And something that kind of aligns with the last point that I touched on, of not everyone is meaning to stay, means walking away from situations that no longer align with the person that I am becoming in this new chapter. And you probably experience something like this too, whether it's friendships, relationships. You realize that you can't relate to the people that you have been so close with at one point in your life. You may be moving into a different space. Maybe you got a different job, or you're moving away, or you've started different habits. You've started going to the gym, and now suddenly the relationships in your life aren't serving you. They're not meeting your needs. And that means that you may be moving into a new chapter, a new phase, a new version of yourself. And that requires having to leave people behind. And it sucks. It doesn't mean that you're intentionally hurting people. I'm definitely not wanting to intentionally hurt people in my life that I love. But it's It's just a phase, I guess, that we have to go through to become the people that we know that we are meant to be. And realizing being a good person doesn't mean making yourself uncomfortable to keep everyone else comfortable. That is a big one that I've had to learn this year. So sometimes choosing yourself hurts other people, and it sucks, and it doesn't feel good. Yeah, you have to have hard conversations, and you have to feel crappy sometimes. But you know you're only doing it with good intention for your own self. As long as it's not with malicious intent, sometimes it is what it is, and you have to do what you need to do for yourself. Lesson number 6: discipline creates freedom. Started running this year. Freaking love it. And honestly, at the start, it wasn't hard. It wasn't not enjoyable. It was just hard. But now I genuinely love it. I've returned back to my morning routines. I couldn't do it with my old job. So I'm very grateful that I moved in, took the risk, moved into a new job where I could have a morning routines, and not only have morning routines, actually encouraged to have morning routines. And I have been so much more regulated in my life and in my days. I have not been feeling drained. Even if I'm working longer hours than what I was in my old job, I feel good every day because I've won my mornings. I've started rebuilding the habits that make me feel like myself again. And as a byproduct of that, I've been able to keep the promises to myself again because my energy levels are so much better now. And it comes from having discipline. And people think that discipline sort of keeps you like locked in a cage or like some punishment. And it's so not true. Discipline is what creates the life that you actually want. Because motivation comes and goes, your identity remains the same, depending on who you are choosing to be every day and what your habits look like. So choosing the habits that match the person and the life that you want to build creates freedom. And it may be hard at the start, but anything that's good for you isn't usually easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So you just have to choose your hard. Are you going to choose to live an average life, or are you going to choose to be the 1%, to do the habits that make you feel good about yourself, that give you your power? Who are you choosing to be every day? And that comes down to discipline. Lesson number 7, the last lesson, is you become who you repeatedly choose. So that really ties in with the last lesson of discipline. Every day I chose growth. Every day that I chose discomfort, and every day that I chose to keep moving. Not because it was easy, but because the future version of me becoming. And that's the vision I had on the back of my mind when it was hard. And of course, we're human, you know? There may be some days where you slip, never skipping 2 days of becoming who you need to be. So, chapter 22 wasn't the year that everything went perfectly, but it was definitely the year that I stopped trying to control everything. And that made life so much more enjoyable. It was the year that I learned that people leave, plans change, and life doesn't look always the way that I thought it would. But I also learned that I can trust myself through it all. If chapter 22 taught me anything, it's this: let life unfold, and let people choose what they choose. And most importantly, let yourself become the person that you're meant to be. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will quickly run through the lessons 1 to 7 again. So number 1 was let them. Number 2, growth requires risk. Number 3, responding instead of reacting. Number 4, not everyone is meant to stay. Lesson 5, sometimes choosing yourself hurts other people. Number 6, discipline creates freedom. And lesson number 7, You become who you repeatedly choose. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. I hope you may have been inspired by one of these lessons, or maybe could relate and realized maybe a season in your life where you are right now. Don't be scared to take risks. Become the person who you know in your core, in your gut, that you are meant to be. And just go for it. We only have one life. So if you want to do anything from this episode, I wrote down, a reflection of my past year. So maybe you want to do the same and see how much you've grown. Sometimes we don't realize the level that we're moving at until we actually sit down and zoom out. So be proud of yourself and make the right choices. Also, if you loved this episode, share it to your Instagram stories, send it to a friend, and like, comment, and don't forget to press the follow button on whatever platform you're listening to. Love you guys so much, and remember, if you leave a review and send a photo, send me a screenshot, a DM on Instagram of your review, you'll get put into a hat for the end of June to get $50 at the end of the month. So one person each month who leaves a review will get $50 straight from my bank account to yours. Love you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.